Hello, this is uh, Mendon Conservation Commission. It is November 30th, 2023. We are starting the meeting at 7:04. Now introduce ourselves. My name is Carl Hummel. I'm the chair.
Susan Cahalan, co-chair.
Bob Sweet.
Leah Whiting.
Tim Icardi.
And we have a new member, well, a new person here working for us, Isabella Genova. Is it Genova?
Yeah.
Yes. We have hired her as our conservation agent. And
Nice job so far.
instead of me doing all the talking, I will only be doing half the talking and she'll be doing the other half on most of this stuff.
Yeah, but you like stuff.
So, since we have someone here who is an engineer, we'll ask you to come up and we will move to agenda item number 3. Extend order of conditions for 74 Northbridge Road. Review request for extension from William Halsing of Land Planning for 74 Northbridge Road, DEP number 2180803, and take any action required. So move the microphone over and say what's up.
Yeah, Bill Halsing, land planning and also the owner of this property.
And Isabella, can you bring up the document stuff from him? Someone wants to look at the actual paper. Anyone interested in looking at these instead of what's up on the screen? Good.
I can pull it up on the computer.
You'll pull it up there. Okay.
Bill, is this the
Some blind.
property with the trailer on it? Oh, okay. Familiar with it.
Which ones do you want up? The
Bring up the site plan so we can see where what the plot looks like and zoom it up so we can see the actual thing. Now, has any work been done on this or
No.
okay, so you just looking for an extension of the existing order of conditions. Is there any interest on people on the committee to going out and doing a site walk and seeing whether the wetlands
Yeah.
has moved in the last 3 years since it was last flagged?
Okay. If I can, I will. It depends.
Okay. Are you okay with scheduling something in the next 2 weeks?
Yes.
Okay, so what'll happen is Isabella will reach out to you. Yay, I get to say that. And set up a time where it's convenient for one of the days she's working and when it's convenient for the other members who are interested in going on the sidewalk.
Okay.
And then you can show us where the existing flags are. Okay, here's Peter Coffin coming in. So we are now joined by Peter Coffin. William Halsing is here to extend the OOC for 74 Northbridge. We're going to have Isabella schedule a site walk, and then I expect that if there are no issues with the flagging, we'll just sign off on the extension at our next meeting. That's still within the 3-year period. 1 day. Okay, I think we're done with that.
All right.
Great.
Yeah, just let me know.
Yep. Great. Thanks.
Yes.
So what I have had Isabella done, people who were here when Bill McHenry was doing it, Bill set up these binders for the different people on the committee. And before the meetings, he would fill all of the relevant paperwork. Without an agent, we got out of the habit of doing that. And instead, I went crazy trying to show everything on the display. So what I would like people to do in the next week, 2 weeks, is to reach out to Isabella and say whether you want to have her make a binder. I knew Mike would want one, so I had one made up as well, but I didn't want to waste all that time Xeroxing and waste the paper and having to worry about recycling it until people, could say, or you may say, you only want to get copies of site plans. You don't need copies of any other photographs or supporting documentation.
Yeah, the problem is I like the big full plans,
Yeah.
which I review here.
Right. And,
Right,
and one of the things we will be telling people who are submitting a request for an ANRAD, an NOI, or an RDA will say, yeah, give us two of the large papers and then we can plop one here and one over
Okay.
there. In addition to having it up on the screen for people who are operating remotely. But this is for, Mike is always saying, I'd like to read this in hard copy as opposed to looking at it on the SharePoint site. So if you feel similarly, reach out, and then as part of her setting things up for our meetings, Isabella would be filling out the binders and setting up tabs and things.
For the 74 North Bridge, that one I can't find. The hard copy.
Right,
So then-
but we don't need the hard copy to write up an extension. So what you would do would be to talk to Maya, and she would make sure, here's the form, here's the extension form to download, and make sure that that got filled in properly. And then we would be able to sign it next week, assuming there's no issues with the flagging. If nothing, if,
Was there a question that over 3 years, you think the flagging might have changed? That, that just a general concern?
yeah, my feeling is we've had enough excessive water falling. We've had 2 years, 1 year of drought, 2 years of very heavy rainfall. So it makes sense that since he's actually going to be crossing a wetlands, I believe, we want to make sure that the flags are still in an appropriate area. Okay. So we're now asking people to sign in so we can record your names correctly in the minutes. What project, are you here for a specific agenda item? Yep, okay, come on up. Yeah, we already did the agenda item 3, so now we can work on yours. So this is agenda item number 4. 42 Millville Street, review request from Richard Kokorian to approve a building permit based on the NOI and COC issued in 2013 for Mass DEP number 213711. So what has happened is we issued the, I went and looked up in the old minutes. This is back when you still had a 5-member board before I was on it. So Mike, Peter, and Tim would have been involved. You had a public hearing, you had an NOI. We can't find the physical copies of those, but we do have, oh, you did get, oh, that's right, you did find them. So you have the paperwork from back then. And my understanding is that most of the work has been completed. So the goal will be to backfill the required paperwork in preparation for issuing a certificate of compliance in the next couple of months. Is that correct?
Okay, well, there, couple of things we still have to do. So you
Okay.
did find all the paperwork. Okay, all permits were recorded and so
Yeah.
everything was all set. So
Right.
I know some of the members were here
Yeah.
when we permitted this.
The problem is that
Yeah.
you should have gotten extensions every 3 years, so we'll have to go back and backfill that paperwork issue.
Oh,
Right, so
okay.
just a procedural question.
Yeah.
When was the work done? Or was it recently or was done in 2013?
It was done shortly after it was permitted, the majority of the work.
Was
The
order of
crossing.
condition Was issued. So it sounds like you did it pretty quick, right? Boom, boom.
The crossing,
Yeah, he went in,
Crossing
he went in
was
there,
done.
he went
Yeah.
in there and did it, yeah.
10 years ago, okay. But now you're going for a building permit now.
Yep.
And now is where a septic might be or other work involved?
Is
or-
there, is there anything that has to be done in the buffer zone anymore?
well, the only thing left to
Was done, I think.
Right.
is, so here's Millville Road. Here's the crossing, the culverts that were placed in about a couple of years ago.
Yep.
Or a couple of years ago, 10 years ago. So the only other thing to do is replication.
Oh, okay.
And then an as-built plan.
So you gotta do some plantings and do the as-built.
I'd like to do it. I thought this would be a great opportunity to see if the commission would be open to this. instead of just throwing some shrubs out there.
Right.
Are
Because-
you gonna come up with a plan for elevations and a planting schedule or?
Well, I.
It's, does it?
Filing. Okay, right here, I got the planting
So
schedule.
that's what you're supposed to do. So let's hear your idea.
Well, so, what I think, this is a great opportunity, because this lot kind of lends itself to it because of the high groundwater. Is you could build I would think a nice little vernal pool here and surround the vernal pool with some nice wetland shrubs or herbaceous plants to do a little different type of, environment that I think would be beneficial, other than just planting some shrubs to meet the
So
replication.
not the only difference between a vernal pool and a wetland necessarily is you'd over excavated it a little bit so that it holds water a little bit, but not too
And what are
much.
you gonna use to hold the water? Are you gonna use clay? Are you gonna use an underlayment? Are you going to do something?
Well, I guess
Permanent?
right here, we got groundwater at 18 inches,
Okay.
so and it, like with any vernal pool, they dry up in the middle of the summer. So I wouldn't plan on putting any type of underlayment under there.
Okay.
The only other
Yeah,
thing,
so you wanna,
the wetland muck that you took out from the crossing should be used. That's probably long gone by now, or I don't know where that got put. Or there probably wasn't much when you, I
yeah,
don't know.
what's the soil condition there right now?
Well, right now, it's, if I was to dig a hole right here, I'd be in groundwater.
Right, but the soil
Is it
itself.
forested?
It's-
Is it,
And it's
grassed or?
kind of trees along the edge here, but yeah, it's kind of open, yeah. And part of this was kind of a semi-open field way back when we started all this.
How many square feet are you talking about? The replication?
That looks
I
pretty
wasn't
big.
here when,
Yeah.
when this plan came in.
Was that a 40 scale?
This is
Should say down the bottom right.
scale as noted. I mean, I haven't.
It's
looked
right
at the
there, right
plan.
on the bottom of the,
Oh, yeah,
right
yeah,
edge, yeah.
40 scale.
40 scale, so that's 2 inches. So that's like more, it's like 100 by 100.
Yeah, I think we had 4,000 square feet of wetland impacts.
so, are you more interested in just finishing the replication and getting a certificate of compliance, or do you want to file a new NOI and make a vernal pool?
Well, I guess
Yeah.
filing a new NOI to do a vernal pool, I'd love to maybe just do an amended.
Yeah, it's an expired order.
Yeah, you're going into a whole new,
Why
regulation.
don't you just do the plantings, finish it, and then get a certificate of compliance?
I know you can, yeah,
Yeah.
it seems like there's an opportunity.
You can make it frog pond.
No, do the replication, like the plan says, get your certificate of compliance and
Yeah.
finish.
And then you'd be done with it,
Right.
but I'm just saying there's an opportunity.
Yeah, no, I hear you, but it's,
So-
yeah, you,
Benefits.
you can't alter an NOI that's expired.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
here's what I would suggest.
Just the thought.
I would
Good
say,
idea.
since you're now talking with us, I will go into the building permit system and say, yep, you can get the building permit. And come back with the new NOI with your new proposal on doing the replication differently. What we would want to do in the next couple of weeks, as you're preparing this, is to schedule a site walk so that people who were in on the original plan can go out and look at the crossing and say, yes, the culvert is still in good shape, that the wetlands that the crossing is not disturbing the wetlands on either side of it. And then you can come back and present your replication plan as part of the new NOI.
Okay,
And that way we don't have to worry about figuring out how to untangle the fact that you're trying, if it expired, we can't do anything further on that particular one. And I don't think, as Susan says, it would be difficult to just try and renew and amend an order of conditions when the NOI had expired.
okay.
So that would be a little more expense in filing fees and sending out green cards and things. But I don't see it being a very difficult thing to convince us to go ahead with that.
Okay.
No, Mr. Chair, I
See the
also would
picture.
say, I guess we're bad. We signed an order of completion and it wasn't completed, obviously, right?
When did you do that?
No, we didn't, we
don't
didn't
think
do
so.
it.
They're requesting.
No, that's an order of conditions. There hasn't been a COC issued on it, in part because
Oh, an order of condition, not COC. Yeah, okay.
So yeah, so we still have to submit an as-built, okay, and then the replication areas as designed, and then we can get signed off and close this order out.
Yes,
And then if Rich wants to go ahead with the vernal pool, then file a new NOI.
Right,
Right.
because actually we're not gonna sign off until it's been at least one growing season.
Sure.
and.
Yeah.
And what,
If it's wet there, you can still plant some wetland
Yeah,
plants,
yeah.
you know, anyway. Is it sunny there?
Yeah, I do want to show you now this is a beautiful, I've done a lot of, culverts. And this is a beautiful, beautiful one.
Came out nice. didn't it?
No, I think that what I'm saying is,
Dry out.
right, what I'm saying is there,
Is
The
it a
water's
box culvert? Is
probably
it
there
second
first.
floor? There's an open box?
depending on what.
That's a 30 stone wall.
The elevation support.
Yeah.
Construction it was.
That's what's gonna be most important is the elevation.
You want to see the existing?
Yeah, the one we built there.
It looks nice.
Eight.
Lot nicer than a lot of them they put in.
so
It's a lot of stone.
You want to pass? Yeah, it was.
Very
That's not,
Double sided with those walls.
yeah, that was not cheap.
and a nice culvert crossing. So in terms of the legal paperwork and stuff, I'll release the building permit. But you won't be able to get an occupancy permit after the work is done until we clear the order of conditions that's attached to the deed. And so what would happen is we'll research, when you come in with a new NOI, we'll research how do we consolidate the two, or maybe we release the first one at the same time as we put on a second one, so that when the work is completed and we're ready for a certificate of compliance, that'll happen very quickly, and we'll know exactly the steps that we need to take for this parcel.
Okay, so question, you said something about you can't get an occupancy.
That's not correct.
You'll be able
It's
to get
not-
occupancy. You wouldn't be able to sell it without,
Sell it.
Well,
with
yeah.
the lien still hanging.
You could sell it.
Yeah, with the.
But he is obligated to get a certificate of compliance. No one's, he would have to, someone would have to indemnify, an attorney or something that he's gonna finish it.
Yeah.
But an occupancy can't be held up for an NOI because they don't have anything to do with each other.
Right.
But
Okay.
yeah, it still has to be
I learn
completed.
something every day.
Yeah.
Okay,
All right.
okay.
So the actions coming out of this for you to record in the minutes is, the Concom will release the building permit hold, and we will expect you to come back to us in either in 2 weeks or in January, depending on how your turnaround, where you'll come back with a new plan. When you're ready to have a new plan, we'd want to schedule a site walk before the meeting at which we discuss the new plan. She would work with you on scheduling that.
All right, can I ask a question?
Yep.
So if they want to do a vernal pool, you mean that you want a new plan for that, right?
That seems to be the best way to resolve the expired order.
Is that what you want to do?
Well, no, if my client wants to go ahead and file another notice of intent, we
Right.
were hoping it'd be an easy swap
Oh, okay.
right through
So,
here.
Rich, what do you want to do?
I guess I'm a little confused.
So,
one more,
so-
run this by me. one more
Okay,
time.
so she's proposing that maybe a vernal pool might be a good fit for that area instead of
Yes.
replication that was originally applied for and approved.
Correct.
To do a vernal pool, you would have to create another plan and then file an NOI because your NOI
Yeah.
was for this
And it expired.
and it expired. So if you want to finish the design that you originally got approved, finish it and just go for completion, you can do that under this. But if you're gonna do something deviate from this, what he's saying is you gotta create a new plan and then come with a new NOI. So that's up to you. If you want to move forward and do your plantings and
Yeah.
get an as-built from Margaret that it's done, she could submit it.
Sure. Couldn't they come back with a modified?
Well,
And then we
yeah.
say there would be no impact if they do it according X, Y, and Z.
We'd have to check with our circuit rider, but my understanding based on the training that I got, no. The NOI is dead in the water because they did not extend
You
it.
can't
in a
modify
timely fashion.
an expired order.
Yeah.
I guess,
The other thing, you could come back with,
with a
With a
notice of
request.
return- Yeah.
and that's, it's a good thing, right? It's sort of like a BMP.
We could do a negative
if you wanted to
determination and let
build
them
a
go without an
vernal
order if
next
the board
spring or
was so
something.
inclined to do that, You could do that if you wanted to really do a vernal pool.
And then create,
Yeah, so I'm hearing that right now, we've got to close this out the way this has been. designed. Yep.
either finish it or file a new NOI, I guess.
Yeah, well, if we want to do a vernal pool,
Mhm.
then we have to file another NOI.
Okay, that's what I was just saying, but
Yes.
Peter, what Peter just came up with was, he was thinking, if you wanted to maybe, if you wanted to do the vernal pool thing, and maybe come in front of the board and ask for a negative determination and see how, I don't know how the other board members feel about that, and to create a vernal pool
Yeah,
without filing an NOI, it is up to the board to determine whether it would be an impact or not,
yeah.
you know?
Do-
Is
do
that
a
what you mean?
That's, yes.
Yeah.
I would say from the picture, it looks pretty wet there anyways, right?
That's right. So it's not gonna take much to create this.
So I guess
Still working in the wetlands.
if you wanna ask.
Yeah, so they're working in the wetlands, because no,
Yeah.
they're not they're working in the uplands,
Yeah.
creating
Yeah, yeah,
wetlands.
yeah.
So I would say, go ahead, start doing that work. And if you want to insert a vernal pool, no problem inserting the vernal pool
Right.
outside it, right? You're not affecting a wetlands. If you wanted to cr- have that part of the wetlands that you're creating,
Yeah.
that would be.
Is it wet because something's draining into it or is it groundwater?
Just groundwater. It's just a wet area.
My paperwork issue is I'd like to double check with our circuit writer exactly what's involved with the replication, because it's a replication and not just going in and, hey, I want to create a vernal pool. There may be additional procedures that need to be followed.
If you're looking for the path of least resistance, why don't you finish the plan the
Yep.
way it is, and then just come in and say, you know, I'm done. Here's my as-built. I'd like my certificate of compliance.
Sure.
And we'll do a site. Walk.
And then we should ask the circuit rider, can they modify it if
Yeah.
we're agreeable, like in January, and you come in?
If you want it to continue, you know,
Right.
it's up to you guys. It's up to you,
Separate
Rich.
filing,
you know?
Filing, whether we do it under a request or an NOI.
Yeah,
Okay,
Get rid of this first and then.
if you
do
choose
that.
to not do
Sure.
that, yeah.
I
okay.
would say with your replication though, you're gonna have to take into consideration your plantings if it's wet there. So
Oh, yeah,
don't know what
I
you
did-
have
I
for
did.
Yeah,
plantings
there's a
there.
whole,
It is.
I see it, I just
Yeah.
can't see exactly what's there, so.
They all ought to be chosen exactly for that purpose.
Yep, if you need any suggestions, I'm happy to help.
Well, a lot of times what I'll do is I'll use the same wetland plants that are right adjacent to it.
Yep, that
Cause
works.
I know that
Because you know
chances
they're
are,
gonna grow well there, so why not? Don't fight nature.
so the way I understand it, we're gonna finish this.
Right, well, that will be our current plan. I will have
Yes.
Isabella check to make sure that the paperwork is okay, that if you, even though the OOC, even though the order of condition is expired, are we still legally able to say, yeah, do what you said you would do back in 2013, and that's okay, or whether we get back that, no, this is dead and you have to create a new one in order to continue working, and we can't, the question is, can we do a COC on something that's expired? I don't.
Well, you
find
wanna
that
know
out.
something?
Yeah, you can.
Yeah, I tell
We
you,
do it all the time.
that's
Okay.
correct. I've been doing this for 30 years.
Okay.
I.
A lot of times audits they get lost and left out, and they come in,
That's
an
correct.
attorney says, hey, there's an open order here, and we.
Okay.
Yeah, 20, 30 years old.
Yeah.
That's correct.
Yep.
So I've never seen a,
For them, right?
Okay, so follow through on that, and
Okay.
we will make sure the paperwork is tidy on our end.
okay. Very good. Good. Okay.
So you're gonna release the building permit.
Oh,
Yes, I will be, when I log in tomorrow or Monday, I'll release the hold on the building permit with a note that you are working with the Concom and will be coming forward to, you're working with us.
yes.
Thank you. Well, you apply for a building permit. It's replication.
So,
Well,
come on up, on your issue now. And we will now do, agenda item number 9, Meadowbrook Woods, review request for determination of applicability, RDA for a bog bridge, and take any action required. So, I'll let Leah, can you give the background of what
Sure.
the request is?
Um,
Since you're taking the point on this. one.
Yeah, Bill Dakai, you know Bill.
Yeah.
He's a avid hiker, mountain biker. Um, had a request for a bog bridge, on the trails at Meadowbrook in one spot because it was very wet and people were not able to traverse the area anymore, and so they were having to go onto Jared's property to get around it. So, Bill, Kurt was part of this too. Jared as well, but Bill came up with a very simple log bridge. That'll have concrete footings. I think it's gonna be about 24 inches wide. With some PT wood on top, but not touching the wetlands. That's gonna be the concrete footings. And this is a good solution to the problem. It's in a resource area used for recreation, which is.
A lot of foot traffic, mountain bikers. How long is the bridge?
We've got all the pictures and stuff there, but
And one section was like 36. The other feet, maybe 76 on one side and
There-
36
There
on the
might,
other
there's
side.
probably something in here that says bog bridge.
So the width is how wide? 4 feet?
2 feet.
2 feet?
Yep,
How
the last
long?
one.
there are similar ones. out
Well,
there.
it's 2 sections. They come from a low area up to a high elevation point and then back down where the beaver water, the outrun from their dams is now running around like
So
that.
they don't hit. There's-
They don't
there's
connect,
land
they-
in between.
Yeah.
Okay.
So one section shorter, I think it's under 40 feet and the other feet, if I remember, was in the 70 to
There's
80
pictures
foot
right there,
range.
Peter, if you want to look at them.
I guess when I was looking at it, I had been picturing more
That,
this.
yes,
With 2 planks. It's not. The draft of the
Oh.
plans like this.
okay.
Maybe a little narrower than that, though.
Yeah,
This is
more
only 2
narrow.
feet. Yeah, that would be much bigger.
They're vertical or
Oh, okay. I see
particular
where- yep.
planks going across
Yep.
in the drawings.
And all is that pressure treated?
All of it's pressure treated
But it's on concrete footings, so it's not
on
touching.
concrete footings like this.
How are you attaching? You're screwing all this boards in? Sections.
Yeah, he's got screws in it.
Take it up with.
So if you look in this picture,
Isn't that anything?
I mean, Bill's built a lot of these, so he may have another idea for the fasteners.
Yeah, but no, I just,
Yeah, I'm quite sure he mentioned screwing.
We got some feedback from Mass DEP about what allowable footings would be. Could you pull up that part of the email or do you remember what it was? Remember the feedback we got from,
Yep, I have it here.
right?
there. Spread feet. There we go.
Like Bigfoots. Oh, Bigfoot.
Yeah,
Should have,
Oh, that thing
That's
on screen though. That's just a block.
and it should be in that.
Yeah.
file, too.
but it's.
Not even, it's not, you can't call it a footing because.
Yeah,
No, but it spreads the weight.
Yeah,
right? But
yeah,
it's also-
yeah.
it's not-
Oh, I mean, it's got the groove in the top to set
Okay,
the
it's-
wood already, and it's not just cinder blocks.
The middle paragraph on the screen.
Part of the bridge should be lying in the wetlands, including footings or sleepers. So you can't put it into the wetland. But a bridge implies you've got to go over the wetland. So they don't like punching some. As you saw in my last email, helical piles or posts could be used to support the span.
I think
Who's
that-
paying for this?
The Blackstone Valley Mountain Bike Association. And so they've budgeted out the drawings that they sent us, but I think if we wanted to do an RDA, Mia's response that it would need to be on posts or higher footings. It's
But
kind of
yeah,
not
but
what's in the
Do you
drawings.
even need footings? I mean, it's just like a floating thing. So if you put it on posts, which they're saying is okay, that's a 4x4, right? So it's gonna go into the muck, but well, I don't know what's gonna stop it from sinking into the muck.
That's what I'm gonna say. You're gonna get the freeze.
Gotta go down, it's gonna, that doesn't matter.
Yeah, it doesn't really matter because it's not a structural thing. I mean, it's just a,
But how would you
Look.
you'd bang a post 2 feet down into the,
I really don't call 2 feet wide safe, to be honest with you.
Like it's also, it's mountain.
I know.
Either.
right?
I know.
And if you're gonna twist your ankle or you're gonna hit your head, but you're gonna do that on a mountain bike anyway. It's not a big drop, right?
If you're
Yeah,
gonna-
it's not
you're
a
gonna
big
do
drop
2
there.
feet, why not do 3?
Well,
The concern of the DEP comment is impact to the rest of the wetlands. Is the rest of the wetlands going to be impacted by having too much pressure treated lumber on the ground? Or how many concrete posts is that going to adversely?
Well,
impact
and the
habitat?
bugs can't crawl under through there or any other critters, no, so that's why you want to bridge up so the wildlife can
Right,
continue.
but that's the way this is designed, isn't it? It's supposed to be a foot out, at least.
Well, that's the
Looks
way
like it's
he's
pretty
designed
high
it, but
from one-
DEP is
'cause
saying
it
they
comes
don't
up
want any
and then
part of
down,
the
so I mean,
bridge
that's,
in the wetland.
it's a pretty high,
So.
you know, above the water, at least from the high point to the high point.
Cross underneath it,
Oh, yeah,
and you're putting cinder blocks every 12 feet.
yeah. I mean, it's pretty much all rock right now anyways. It's not
Pretty
really,
crackly there.
yeah, it's like all
It's
bone.
not good footing,
Yeah,
even
no,
when it's dry.
it's not actually a lot of muck.
Yes, 12 by 12 is a lot more impact than a 4 by 4. But
Oh.
the 4 by 4s, you have to have it every
Yeah,
6 feet.
Yeah, I
and
don't
that-
really think
it's
those
like-
would be very impactful, especially if it's all stone.
Yeah, it's a lot of stone, all, you know,
Cobble.
yeah.
So in terms of the paperwork, what we've had recommended in terms of doing this is to have a request for determination of applicability about whether this project will impact the wetlands. And what would happen is that in the next 2 weeks before our next meeting, Isabella would start the process of working with Leah to write up an RDA that says, here is the work that's being done. We would review that plan at our next meeting and we would say, no, that proposed work will not impact the wetlands. Go ahead and do it. And that would require a 5-day notice in the newspaper.
I don't see how I could say that's not gonna impact the wetlands. It's for a good cause, but it's.
The question is, how much is it gonna affect? Because you're talking 12 cinder blocks basically going across an area that an elevated bridge is gonna be resting on.
And my other question is, how badly is the impact getting, the wetlands being impacted by foot traffic and bicycle
Right.
traffic?
So that there will be an impact, but then it's balanced
But it's
by.
mitigating a different.
And this is a trail that it is an established trail that is actively being used for recreation, which is why we have the problem.
And they're also,
We want to encourage the negotiation between
no, but the
neighbors
thing
and
that we're
this is a
missing
good
is
thing. Thank
they
you.
all cross onto his property.
that's
Yeah,
the
yeah.
big,
Around.
yeah, I mean, essentially it comes to working out a plan to make a bridge, a crossing, some other way that the foot traffic can safely get through, and mountain bikers, as it's posted, it's advertised, it's on trails.com, it's on every single map that's out there, and that's really where the problems started happening. You know, 5 years ago, it was just a bunch of local people
Right.
from Asylum Street, Henry Street.
And
Now it's out,
Trail
I got people from Boston on my property, they're sitting at my picnic tables, I mean, it's just grown, you know, to the point that why I'm here and started this whole thing and willing to fund a portion of it. Of course, I'm not gonna fund, you know, huge expensive bridges for people, you know,
Yeah.
I'm just trying to give them a mean to get around
Yep.
and keep the beavers there, right? Cause the whole,
Is you started the conversation.
yeah, that's what I'm doing is, you know, it's up to the town. If they keep the trail, they can just close the trail too. You know, that's also an option.
I wonder
So-
if we're not able to get this through right now, would we be able to pay for signage kind of to keep them off of your?
You can't
property?
get by it anymore. The beavers have built I mean, unless you wear waders.
Mr. Chair, could you, what are those
Busy bee.
stringers? What are they, 2x4s, 2x6s?
I just got this emailed to me because my email was left off yesterday, so I
Can you
didn't
move
get
on?
in
No, it doesn't show on that sheet, but it should.
a
show
whole
on
lot of.
theirs.
I
That,
think you
that
might have a copy.
It's
By 6 by 12,
2x6x12, because I was just
yeah,
hoping that maybe you, rather than every.
On the other
6
side,
feet,
Tim.
if you could go every 8 or 10 feet,
yeah.
minimize
Yeah.
the footings, just.
I have a quick question. So the pressure treated wood you're proposing to use, is it gonna be an alternate, beats, arsenic free, copper free, all that stuff? Or, they have like different types now?
Well,
Yeah.
that's why I suggested the footings be concrete so that the wood, the pressure treated wood won't be sitting on anything touching the.
Yeah.
But is it still leach even?
Still,
rain
the
and
rain,
stuff?
still, yeah.
Yes,
But they don't put copper chromate in it anymore.
Technically not, but you can, world markets,
So there's 2 other bridges that were just built. I mean, we can
Yeah.
look at how they did those. They're within 50 feet of this one, so
They were
also
pressure-
crossing the
they
same.
were pressure
you never
treated.
know where it's coming from these days. It's like this.
Yeah, well, I mean, this was all put through here, you know, a few years ago, so.
Like the EU still allows asbestos, 5% asbestos and everything, so.
Yeah.
I wonder why there's 3-eyed frogs down.
Yeah, yeah, but I'm just saying, you know, we're not, this isn't the first time work is
Yeah.
being done. There's bridges
So there's
already
other
built
bridges there.
out to
Much-
this point.
Much more
Yeah,
built
these
up
are much
bridges,
more,
yeah.
they got cement footings poured in the
big,
ground
big,
and
big, big
Maybe
bridges.
spread the word that you're gonna do a fundraiser for all the people that coming from Boston or whatnot.
Yeah, I'm gonna put a
little
Venmo,
box.
like scan, you know.
Scan this barcode.
Best interest of the trail and all the people that've been able to use it and want to be able to keep that and not go for other things, but clearly, you know, my property can't be a piece of this. And so it's up to the town and, you know, the other people to.
Okay, well, hold up. Bob wanted to
Jason.
ask something.
Jared.
Jared, sorry about you.
Close.
2 feet seems a little narrow. Would 3 feet make more sense?
It would,
Because-
yeah, again, I didn't draw this plan, I'm
Built
just,
it.
but yeah,
3 feet keeps the ATVs off a bit, but it gives 2 people on a bike a fighting chance to get by.
yeah,
Here's nothing.
yeah, I mean,
And
we could
Oh, I agree.
relook at that, you know. It was awfully generous of the mountain bike.
Yeah.
That made it give 700, so I don't really know at this point even what the total cost of this
Mountain
project
bike or go through the woods and stuff.
is. Yeah, I think that's why they're in best interest of
They're
funding.
putting 900 in materials, but believe they said they might be short for the piers, $400.
Okay, yeah, so that's new. The last email to me was 700, but 900's better for sure.
Since this is trail improvement of town property, we can see about if there's a town budget item that we can pry open to help also.
Yeah.
I mean, here's the question. If you had to get one bridge over the other, which one would you prefer?
You mean from the two that they're building?
Correct.
Well, it's not up to me. It's whether you keep the trail or not. I'm just giving us, people have to be able to get by.
I think it's the same area, just 2 separate bridges.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, they're 10 feet within each other.
Okay, so one goes from.
Yeah, they're literally
A small island.
Yeah, he has a blown up picture right here, which I can.
Yeah, but it looks like you're just crossing the river.
No, so the river's way over here.
There's a big pond on the other side,
So Inman Pond's down here
Okay.
and maybe 100.
but there's a smaller marsh pond too.
This has always been a stream and wetlands here that come and go with the beavers as they build this dam right here. That's a stone wall. Sometimes they build it up, it gets torn down. It's been torn down twice since I've been there, by the highway department, because this water backs up to Inman Pond. Not Inman Pond, to Asylum Street.
Okay.
And so as this beaver dam comes and goes, the water this is all uphill here. It's real steep. And so the water just comes to about right here. Sometimes I've seen it a little bit further and it could last 2 or 3 years and then it starts to recede. That's the cycle I've seen in that area.
Isabella, can you bring up the Mass GIS JPEG that I stuck in the folder?
So this is 2 bridges that just come from you were saying, from the lower part up to like a big boulder and then back down again.
Okay.
So it just there's probably 5 feet in between one to the other.
So this one shows exactly where the creek is and
Property.
So this is when it's receded.
okay, so I circled the wrong place.
Well, this is how it normally is, but within this last 8 months, they rebuilt this dam in full force with all the crew. And now the water has come up. Actually, it comes up a little bit over the stone wall and then back down again. So this trail where the dots is, this one section right here. The high point is still dry. But you have to be able to get to it, which is about 10 or 15 feet of kind of like walking on little slippery rocks.
They go the other way.
Water's flowing, and then you have a little dry section you get up, and then you gotta kind of get back down through it and come back up onto this side right here. So the 2 crossings are just coming like right around this corner, right around the corner of the, stone walls. And today what's happening is they're about at this point, they're coming up over the stone wall and then back over to the trail like this. So they're cutting off the whole.
Right, well, it's going around the wet.
Yeah, but they gotta get up over the stone wall. They pushed a couple rocks down. They made a nice little walkway through the
You're
wall.
running
Not
a
a good
stone
thing.
wall.
Not a good thing.
No, and we're out there all weekend, this is one of our favorite parts, watching all this wetlands and activity in here. So we meet a lot of people and we talk to them and, things like that. I've explained to probably, a handful of couples just in the last couple of weeks of all the work that we're doing and that we're presenting this evening. You know, so I've talked to quite a few people. I've got a lot of like, hey, that'd be great, because we like walking on this trail. You know, so it's an.
It's a nice
important
trail. Yeah, it's a nice trail.
A lot of locals walk their dogs on it, and a lot of people come in from, you know, they read all trails, they're like, oh, Meadowbrook Woods, and it gets to Cormier, and they can start to plan this whole map. It's really coming out well now, and so it's attracting a lot of people.
We're advertising them. I'll
Yeah.
notice that. Yeah.
Well, we're advertising it, but actually people can't cross your trail except if.
So
they
we
cross
gotta
that
make it
road.
good. You're right.
So where are we at?
Well, before we get to Leia's motion, Peter, you said you weren't comfortable doing a negative determination because it's concrete. Do you have do you have
No,
an
I
alternative
guess
that
I
you can
can-
do
I
that would be
can-
less intrusive?
I can, the good Jesuit that I am, that yes, it is going to have an impact. But I can make a determination, it's a negative impact because it's improving the other things. And so
It's less intrusive than.
it will have an
what's going on.
impact, but not a significant one.
It's
and-
reducing
and
the
it-
current
and-
impact?
Yes, yes.
Okay, so now we're ready for Leia.
I make a motion to proceed with this and try to get the RDA through the WPA, MIA, McDonald's in the next couple of weeks.
So what will happen is Isabella will work with you and making the RDA form, and she'll get trained in how to fill out the right boxes and whatnot. And we will then take the existing documentation that will be part of the application, and then we will vote on the RDA in 2 weeks. Do people think we should have another site walk out between now and that?
No, I don't.
What I would like is
That's not-
a detailed plan of what they're going to do for that bridge with their footings.
Okay, so if you can go back to the other people who gave us the documents before.
With maybe some height,
Yeah.
if you
Well,
can.
no,
I think that's
no,
great.
this is pretty basic. They're making these 12 feet long.
If there's,
So every 6 feet, they're gonna be
Right.
putting these.
but if they're
lock
going
down.
from 2 feet to 3 feet, I'd like to get a new hand-drawn
Oh,
diagram.
if they decide to do that?
It's on,
Yeah,
it's on all true.
It's gonna be wider, correct, yes.
Okay.
But
Oh.
that's what you want to put in with this so that everybody knows so there's not a 6-foot bridge put there. And all of a sudden you're like, well, we thought it was 2.
Want to
We
revise the
approved
plans?
3, but now it's 6.
Okay.
And who would be doing the work? Would you be doing the work, or?
It looks like it'll be Kurt LaBeouf, myself, Bill, Wiersma, Dottie Wiersma, and, another Wiersma that
Okay.
live right abutting to these trails.
Okay,
So some locals that live and all have best interest in
right.
this.
It'd be helpful if the more the merrier, if they're here and we can all, you and the other people who are doing the work all say, yep, here's what we're expecting the work to be done. So there's less confusion when you're actually out in the field.
Yeah, no, and I offered, you know, so we didn't need to carry it all in, to bring it out through my property.
Yep.
Out
I wrote that up.
To the back corner there.
to the back corner, close to it anyways,
And
within 100 feet of it, up on the.
They can
Makes a big
attend
difference.
via the teams, the remotely if that's easier for them.
Because those concrete things are pretty heavy. They're like,
Does anybody have a side by side that they can load them up in and bring them out?
Well, I have an ATV with a trailer, and, you know, I said, whatever materials they get, and, Bill said he has an account at Koopmans, so the materials will come from Koopmans. Just to have it dropped at my house, and over a couple of trips, couple of
Yeah.
days or whatever, I'll just, you know, I get a few minutes, you know, I'll drive out there. It's about a half mile out and a half mile back from my house.
Nice.
Yeah, so,
We
but I
don't-
have a nice road that goes out
We
there or
don't-
near to it.
We don't need a formal motion with the vote in a second because we'll just wait for the RDA to show up in our laps, and then
That's what it looks like.
at the meeting, we will have a motion to approve a negative or positive determination.
It seems like most people here support doing this.
Yeah.
I was gonna say so.
Well, that's the way I like to run meetings. Everyone.
Okay.
That's why I've reached out to said, Peter, are you comfortable with doing this before we finished up?
Okay, okay,
All right,
thank you.
Well,
Yeah, that's good.
Jared,
Yes, awesome. Yeah, it's nice meeting you all as well.
we'll see you out at the pond. I
All
mean,
right.
out at the
Have a good
Quad
one.
Bridge.
Do you have these meetings monthly or
Every 2 weeks.
twice a month, every 2 weeks?
second and fourth. or-
Second and fourth. So the next meeting will be in 2 weeks in December. And one of the items we will discussing is if we're going to have a second meeting in December. Well, we'll get to that.
All right.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for coming. Okay, we will now come to the part of the meeting where I read something out and then I look to somebody else to give a status update. So we'll start with Lake Nipmuc water level. Review report from Alan Tetrault about beaver trapping and take any action required.
Alan got 2 beavers. In that they think it was done, and then him and Billy broke the dam. And Billy said he believes the water level is down and should be good through spring.
Okay,
And then Alan dropped his invoice off for me, so.
okay. So you should work on making sure that that gets paid out of our beaver account.
Yes.
Leah, you had something you wanted to say about
This-
planning for the future.
Yes, because this was kind of a special occasion. We didn't have a lot of time before winter came. We had a,
Act quick.
yeah, exactly. But I think as a conservation commission, you can probably do this a lot better next time.
Do what?
Mitigate beaver issues better. There are lots of other things we can do. There's a specialist, Jack Callahan of Beaver Solutions. He's done some work in the town. He has his own contraption that he uses. That's a little different than the beaver deceiver. But if that can't be used for whatever reason, if there's elevation or whatever, there's other ecological and environmentally friendly ways. We shouldn't just be hoping this is an instance where we had to take quick action and now we have time to figure out what to do when this happens next time.
Are you saying instead of removing the beavers?
Yes. Deter the
The
beaver.
problem is, this is a critical one because it's the lake,
Yeah.
but it is not the only one.
But
And that,
can I just, Peter, can I finish? I think we have to think about, I know everyone thinks beavers are a nuisance, but they're a keystone species. Does everyone know what a keystone species is?
Yep.
I
Okay.
don't. What's a keystone species?
It's an organism, or in this case, a beaver, who facilitates and drives the ecology. And so we're taking them out. If we deter them, they'll go somewhere else and be a keystone species. We just keep killing them. Guess what? They're coming back anyway. But we're just trapping them, killing them, and then more come. So really need to find ways to mitigate them, whether it's a beaver contraption like the beaver deceiver, but this guy uses something different, or by using vegetation or things that naturally would deter them. And I think that, all of us here can probably come up with a better plan than just hunting them and killing them.
Yeah.
So,
I think there's probably different situations where you could probably do that.
right.
The unfortunate thing about the outflow of the lake, it affects everyone's septic system all
True,
around.
and here's the other thing that we have to do too. We have to be scientific about this. We have to figure out what the normal water level is for the lake.
I'll get to that agenda item.
but
Yes,
back
but
to the beavers, because thank you. I guess we have.
I
a
love
beaver
beavers. So
account.
cute.
Where's that money come from?
It's part of our line item for doing conservation work. Yep.
We have about $5,000 a year for beaver trapping. And so does the highway department has their own budget for beaver trapping as well.
In addition to that.
So here's the action that we're looking to get approval from the commission on. We had him come out a couple years ago and he said the beaver deceiver won't work at Lake Nipmuc because the gradient is over a wide area. It's not steep enough. However, since then, he's come up with new technology. And so what we'd like to do is have him come out for another site visit and give us an estimate of, does he have another solution that will allow water to flow even if the beavers build dams way up? And if so, how much it would cost? And then at a future meeting, there'd be an agenda item. And with the advantage of if we paid $1,500 or $2,500, that would solve the Lake Nipmuc problem for many years, and we wouldn't have to keep trapping beavers down there and breaking
I'm
dams.
all for finding and researching it. And so this one I can see spending money.
Yes.
Every other site, I don't know. It's going to be site by site and then.
Mhm.
But this one is-
Yes,
Well, other sites beaver deceivers worked, and those are only about 500.
Well,
And
other
Mazar
sites,
said-
this contraption has been used at other places. It's been used in the town forest and at Metacoma, and it's working.
Okay, yeah.
So,
And Mazar said he'd come and check the site out for free, and if it doesn't work out, it's not billing, so.
I have one question to ask this board on, as far as beavers go. At what point is the homeowner at a disadvantage to having beavers in the area that create wetlands that were never there? And what is his right to protect his land from being turned into a wetland that was never a wetland before?
But if we deter them, then we won't have that problem.
And they might have been a wetland 1,000 years ago when beavers
Right.
were
Right.
ruled the land.
Just like
So,
sharks, they were
It
here.
is, I think a beaver is somewhat protected, that a homeowner cannot trap it
Correct.
unless it's doing like a farmer.
Mhm.
If he's causing damage to my septic, then I have the right to take it out. But until then, I think the beaver's got, that's
The beaver has more rights, exactly.
right. So you're gonna lose and trees are gonna die. You should hear Jim Stewart yell at all.
Here are the guidelines for private property. Upton has a really good, I have beavers, what do I do, on their Conservation Commission website.
Thank you for doing the
Yeah.
research.
And I think the other thing to think about is like people trap beavers for hunting season and we can't save all of them and it's like unrealistic to save
Right,
every
of
beaver.
course. I'm not one of those tree hugger people. I'm just saying that as a conservation commission, we need to be educated on what a beaver does in the ecology and know when and when not to be trapping. Like if there's an alternate way that works, why not? It saves you money in the long run. We have to call Al 4 times a year to come trapping. You know, instead of just putting something that deters them, we're gonna save money in the long run.
Isabella, do you know whether Alan got juvenile beavers or adults?
Yeah, he got 2-year-olds, so he thinks that they were just kicked out and that's why they built the dam this year.
Okay, so they're juveniles.
Well, they were the adults who were, last time he got juveniles who were under a year old. This time he got the 2 parents. So that's why they think that there's not going to be another.
But there's always gonna be more beavers.
Eventually they'll come back, which is why we want to investigate coming up with a water flow device.
Glad we have a fund.
All right, if there's any further discussion on that item, we'll move on. We'll now move to agenda item number 8, Lake Nipmuc Task Force. Here report from Bob Swede, including about installing a water level gauge and take any action required. For you.
So I reached out to Shea Engineering on 2 different occasions and I didn't get a return call. So I bumped into Bill Hulsing from Land Planning and he doesn't have any criteria to knowing what the mean lake height is. He would have to have it surveyed and he offered his services, but he would want to be paid for it. So in order to get the height of the lake, we're gonna have to get a surveyor in there to give us that information.
Have you contacted the USGS? Cause I'm surprised it's not being monitored by them.
I think, wouldn't it be somewhere historically with USGS?
Yes.
That's
And
what
also-
I'm trying to find out, but I haven't had.
Get a
anybody-
surveyor, surveyor's gonna
give me
give you
that
what it is
information.
now. He can't give you the mean historical.
Fine.
That takes many years of data to figure out.
Does, and with the way that the climate changes and all the rain we're getting and all the like,
Just changes.
yeah, exactly.
But that's why you got high, low and median. And
Well-
that's what we're trying to find out is,
Shoot
Just like-
the elevation of the outflow.
Well,
well,
here,
that's what Bill said. He said, that's what you have to do is shoot the elevation. But in order to do that, you're gonna have to hire somebody to do that.
well, here's.
Don't we
here-
have plans for that? It
So-
should all be on the plan.
Oh, there's a
What do
plan
they
down
do?
at the DPW that shows all of the contour, the elevations of, there's a big drawing of it on the wall. I mean, that may be helpful.
Of the dam.
Of the pond.
Yeah, because if you went to the middle of the pond or where the elevation is on the pond, you should find the.
That would be
like,
within a
water
foot.
level.
Well,
Yeah, it's pretty nice. It's an old drawing and it's an engineering drawing.
here's what I want, and you can take
Oh.
this back to the commission and the other people you're talking to, see if I'm just not making sense or not. I want a stick in the ground with marks on it.
Right.
And I want to
Dan and I
know,
wanna do.
I want to know what it is right now. So that if Billy or someone else on the lake comes in and says, my water level's too high, we say, well, back in December, it was at this level. What is it now? Oh, you're right, it has gone up. And then we will have some actual data rather than having to rely on people taking photos of their lawn.
There's no wall abutment, because that's the easiest to existing. permit.
That's what we're trying to do, is we're trying to get something, some
Something that's
kind
in
of
the water
measurement
already.
that can be in a fixed location.
I want it to
that
be
can
by
be
the
monitored.
beach so that Dan
Just gonna
Byer
say.
can monitor it.
Near the
Right.
beach, near the town
And-
beach.
and
Right.
that's
Maybe
exactly-
outside the ropes or something.
And this is exactly what I want the Lake Task Force to take up as an issue you know, I don't care whether we decide what the mean is or not. I want something so that when people come in saying it's too high, I can say, well, not according to the measuring stick.
Bob, you should go down the DPW in the
Yeah.
office. They have that. It's actually, I'm pretty sure it's on the wall. It was before.
I'm gonna reach out to
Yeah,
Josh.
yeah, it's pretty.
John Dudley
Yeah.
is, running that,
May
I
help.
believe now, so.
Yeah, it may help.
Is it, that's good.
Then we have evidence next time,
Exactly.
instead of somebody just yelling at us and then we have to kill beavers.
All right. So the second thing I've asked, referred to the Lake Task Force that you can do is, I believe that we should retain a wetlands specialist who knows not only the Wetlands Protection Act and regulations, but also the Chapter 91 Great Pond regulations. And they would work with us to prepare either bylaws or regulations, and at the very least an FAQ that we could make public and post on the website saying, if you live on the lake and you want to do this, here's what you need to do. So that, whether the issue is that the Concom doesn't have jurisdiction over Chapter 91. That's divided
state.
between the state and the Board of Selectmen. So the goal is that since the Select Board created the task force, the task force should go back to the Board of to the Select Board and say, we want to spend money, give us the money to do that.
To hire somebody on an hourly basis, kind of as a
Or,
consultant.
or whatever, yes. And you know, DeShang, if it was just straight WPA regulations, he'd be my first choice, but I asked him and no, he's not familiar with Chapter 91.
No, they're two kind of different things. But I'm
Well,
sure there's somebody
well,
out there.
No. Anybody who does Chapter 91 will also know the WPA regulations because by definition,
That's
it's a wetlands. But
Mhm.
but the Great Pond is a larger body of water. It has additional regulations in how citizens have to file for work with the state.
MHDC might be a helpful, a list of professionals, consultants, right?
Yeah, maybe.
John came to me today and asked if I knew anything about 91. And I said, I can do what I know, and my family, they have a house in Plymouth and they've done a lot of Chapter 91 work, so I can call their lawyer and talk to them. And kind of give like a overview. I have the calendar date in for the next Tuesday meeting, so.
Okay, so I'm sticking this on your lap, but reach out to.
I'll have to work
and
with you
Get
and
some more
we'll try to
information.
get some more information about that, because the Lake Association wants to be involved in that as well.
Well, they're on the Lake Task Force, so they will be.
They, well, they have a vested interest. They want to make sure that the lake is protected, that we come up with a group of, a list of rules and regulations that are permittable and non-permittable, and which ones need permits. Like recently I found out that, because it's a great pond, anybody that's got a dock is supposed to have a permit for it. It's a state applied permit, not anything to do with the building department here or anything.
Yeah, I think with docks, we could also regulate, like foam and the like small plastic foams that they're putting in. Making docks more air and stuff like that. I think we can regulate that as Concom.
Oh, as opposed to physically just fastening them to the ground, have the floating docks.
I don't know, that was maybe off topic, but yeah, I think, or like, rafts or anything that's in the pond.
Right, it can't be in any kind of a waterway, which is a danger to boat or watercraft traffic.
Okay, any further discussion about things we want to refer to the Lake Task Force? Okay. We'll now go to agenda item number 6. There are two parts of this conservation restriction activity. The first one is review the final draft of the Gaskill Meadows Conservation Area Conservation Restriction to determine whether to forward it to the Select Board and Town Council for their review and eventual approval. This has been in the email. It's in the SharePoint site. There's probably, is there something in here of that? Right, so if someone wants to look at a hard copy, this was lying fallow for a couple of years, but now the Metacomet and Mazar's Land Use Committee, CPC Committee have done an update to it. They're asking for us to sign off on it because we would be the committee that would actually be doing the enforcement of it. I looked it over. There's some changes that are not, basically they're tidying up the paperwork. And so I would recommend approving a motion to pass this along.
Second.
Well, I'm not making the motion. I'm just saying, so now I'll,
Oh, you'll make the motion.
so now I will entertain the motion and then you can say, I so move.
Okay,
So say I so move.
I so move.
Okay, so now we need a second.
Just worried I should probably abstain on this one, 32 George Street. It's just. I don't know what land it's on. It must be abut me, so just out of.
That's
Okay.
Pond Street, isn't it? 32 George, what'd you say, 32 George?
That's what it says there, doesn't it?
Right, but isn't that Pond Street, isn't that the,
Pond Street is the new street, but it's all the open.
It's the open space by his house,
Around abuts his property too.
north of his house.
I'll second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Abstain.
And Peter abstains.
Opposed? Okay, passes unanimously. So, an action item for you to take from this is to reply back an email that we have approved the we have approved the final draft, and you should work with the select board admin. What's her name? It's not Ellen, it's who's the person whose office is right over there?
Ellen?
Ellen's the clerk. Who's the select board's admin?
It's,
Well, we're all blanking.
I know
on
you're
her.
talking about.
But what you should do is talk with her and see about getting it on their agenda. Yeah, that's one way to find it. Aha, Laura.
Laura.
So reach out to Laura and see about getting that on their agenda. And what would happen is they would reach out to the people at Metacomet to come in and talk with
Yeah,
them at the
this
meeting.
thing.
They might ask us to attend. I would see about attending as well, but we would let the people who have been working on the CR do most of the talking at the select board meeting. And Metacomet recommends that the select board have town council review it. The select board can decide whether they want to have the town council review it ahead of it appearing on the agenda, or they talk about it, look at it, and then refer it. So that's up to how they want to handle things. Any further discussion? Okay. So, second CR, the review actions being taken at Quistit Road and take any action required. It's not 51. What is it?
43.
43. Okay, so can you give an update on the research you've done?
Essentially, well, I got an estimate from G&H for 1,800 to do. You can do the iron rods flush or slightly buried for a cost of 1,800.
Right, and my concern is that since Anne wasn't on the sidewalk, she talked with him about replacing all 5 of them. And it's not 5. Are there, did Mark remove 2 out in the fields or 3? I don't remember.
I don't either. I just remember him pointing to a.
Thought it was the
calendar.
2 corners, but
So if you can confirm with Mike, which ones got removed? Mark, yes.
Yeah.
I got the M right. It's just like Jason and Jared I mix up. So the goal would be that once that's determined, you would be able to reach out and say, does the estimate change based on the fact that it's only the 2 that are out in the field? And
Cause Anne told
Probably
me
won't save a
that-
lot, but it's,
So,
Anne said she just wanted the corner boundary markers put back in.
Right. So.
I don't know if those were the ones that were circled on the
Right.
inscription.
So if you can confirm and then we get something a little more formal as an estimate, then we would vote at our next meeting in December to approve, and then we would see
Who
about getting.
pays for it, Carl?
At our last meeting, we had passed a motion saying that we would be paying for it.
Okay.
because actually, well,
Has
the
he
land
put the-
use committee has paid for it before, right? Didn't they pay for the initial installation?
Are they gonna put in a bound that's not intrusive to his?
Yes, that's
Right,
right.
they're supposed to put a flush.
The estimate is he's gonna take a hunk of iron and make it flush. And that way it won't interfere with his haying and it won't interfere with the cattle grazing. And we would be able to go out with a metal detector and say if there were any further questions about encroachments.
Is the person you got the estimate from, were they the ones who did the work originally? So they should be the cheapest, so
They have the control.
Yep.
Yeah, they're the ones who did the initial site description.
they're,
So there were 5 markers. Let me just make sure I get this right.
Well, that's what I was told from Anne. I don't know who.
Well, I
don't
just
know
wanna
the
make sure
site
it's-
Visit.
Still.
Right, I just want to ask Mark how many of the 5 markers he took out.
Yep.
So that's why.
And I think it's 2, but it may have been 3, and I want to figure that out exactly before we go back for an updated estimate.
Okay,
All right.
I'll give Mark a call.
Okay, so moving on to agenda item number 7, Sylvan Springs Monitoring. Review site inspection report of November 16th, 2023, as well as the recent Upton enforcement order and take any action required. We got the latest report. There's no new items of any significance. However, we got correspondence from Mary, the conservation agent for Upton, saying, I'm sorry, but there's stormwater and silt flowing downhill, which is very timely because when we did our sidewalk, I specifically said to Bill and to DeShang, yeah, if there's water running downhill, we need to address it on the uphill side. So what's the current status and schedule?
We scheduled a site walk with Mary and DeShane for December 15th at 10 a.m.
So,
It's open.
yeah, and early in early,
Friday.
no, but that Wednesday or Tuesday, we'll send out a text message reminding people of that. We would meet at the trailer again.
That was the 15th.
Yes.
And this,
AM.
and this would be both conservation agents from Upton and Mendon, so that we'd be able to not let them, point fingers or say, we'll talk to
Good
the other
idea.
people about it.
Yep.
Mr. Chair, just back to 51 Quistit.
Yep.
Because,
43.
excuse me, 43. Isn't there also a question as to reviewing the restrictions and some interpretation needed as to whether he could, and so whether we were going to seek council's review of it, or that he had the right to move and bring in fill in that square?
I've read through the conservation restriction. It's like, it is fairly straightforward in it. I think the confusion comes between the Metacomet's annual inspection not being followed up on. And that's where he kind of lost what he was able to do.
What the question that we had when we were there is, he has a building envelope that is farm related. And he was under the impression that he could do whatever he wanted in that envelope. And we wanted to make sure that because it's farming, yes, he has the right to do more than most, but he still has to follow wetland regulations. He was near the wetlands. He removed the wall that shouldn't have been removed.
Yeah, the
And
wall definitely should not have been removed, and that could even go up to Massachusetts Historic Commission for having removed it.
It's pretty steep where he put the fill and everything, and that slope goes right down into the wetlands.
so the question that we had at the time was, does he have to put the wall back in?
I don't know, because he could come back and sue us for not following up with Metacomet the right way. You know, so I think if we pushed on the stone wall,
Whoa,
No, Metacomet is not involved. Metacomet is acting on Mendon's
You.
behalf.
our agent.
yeah,
What would, the counterclaim he would make is because of the way his farm buildings are, he needs to have that level area there in order to navigate and back in order to use his farming process activities. And when we did the site visit, I'm looking at it and saying, yes, in order to get clearance behind his barn, in order to store sufficient hay, he needed to fill in that areas, even though it ended up being where the stone walls were. This is another example of the kind of problems that we had because this was our first CR and it was done in a very hasty 3 months. This is exactly the kind of things when I'm working and reviewing the CR for the Vandersloot property, we're going to be making very sure exactly what the appropriate areas where they're able to do farming and what the restrictions are. At this point, Metacomet is asking that we go back and do something about the stone wall. I'm not as inclined to do that personally, because we've now established a working relationship with Mark, and Leah will be making sure that he
That'll
doesn't
be fun.
have
Okay.
problems in the
Yeah.
future.
I think the important thing is we gotta get those markers back in.
Yes,
And then we can tag them on anything after that.
once the marker is back in, we will immediately be able to see whether the new outbuilding he's
Right,
built, whether
that's-
the corner.
That's the more important thing at this stage.
Yes. He is in agreement with us that after we get the marker in, he'll just have to yank his building back. But if it turns out that no, he's actually, this far away, hit the corner is, still in his property. I think we should just be working with him and Metacomet and saying, because of COVID, because of the lack of an agent, we let things slide. However, we are now going to be responsive to Metacomet's reports on us for anything they find in future. And the report that they just did not find anything new. Their report.
Will they be
for
happy with
this year.
that at least?
Well, that's, it's trying to, the way it was explained to us, if everybody, if the applicant is unhappy, if the applicant is happy and the homeowner is happy, we're doing something wrong. If they're both unhappy, the Conservation Commission is splitting the difference the way we should. All right. Okay, so that finishes the CR stuff. We'll skip ahead to agenda item number 12, set December meeting. The second Tuesday in December is not an issue. The fourth Thursday is between Thanksgiving and New Year's. What I would, Christmas and New Year's, sorry. What I would propose is that we leave the meeting on the calendar. However, as we get actions coming in, we would ask people who are on a timeline to say, are you willing to wait until January? There are a 21-day clock starts if we get certain kinds of paperwork, but we can reach out to the applicant and say, we would like to wait more than 21 days in order to not have to meet between Christmas and New Year's. Are you okay with that? If they come back and agree, then we would not have a meeting on that particular night. But I want to hold open the possibility that we might have to, just in case.
You can always cancel.
But the expectation is that we would cancel, our goal would be to cancel that meeting and defer everything until January. So there's general agreement with that proposal. Okay. All right. Now go to training budget. I've completed my MACC certification, so I have lots of bills. Leah, how many classes did you end up
2.
taking? 2. We have $1,000 training budget. I'd like to reserve 500 of that for our new clerk.
Yeah.
She signed up for a class coming up in December, I think. Is it December?
My membership is going through this week, so I was gonna sign
Right,
up.
so she's getting enrolled as a staff member and that'll be getting paid for out of out of a different line item, but then she will be starting to spend money out of the training budget and I want to pay her fully for the spring conference that's going to be held at Mount Holyoke, I think. So she would get her travel gas money reimbursement for that as well as conference expenses. But the other $500,
I'm happy to not be reimbursed.
okay,
I'm
so
fine with that.
so then what'll happen is at a future meeting, you come up with your mileage reimbursement, how much you want, and I will come up with some of it and we'll do a partial reimbursement and I'll sign the invoices department head and we'll get the town to cut the checks on that.
I'm
I'd
also
rather you
allowed
have
to
the
sign.
money.
Okay, great.
Question for you.
Yep.
The sixth is another training session on, chapter 103, I believe it is. That seems like it's different than the one we took previous.
I don't know, I'd have to check. There's a new one in January for conservation restriction review of some sort. Can you bring up the
Chapter
MACC
103, that's one
calendar?
of me.
Calendar of events will do it.
So yeah, I'm planning to take this one next week and then the CR's monitoring, which would be beneficial for when we're doing CR monitoring.
Mhm.
Would be on
This is different.
January 10th.
Okay, well, when she takes the class, she'll be able to share the PDF, the slide deck with the rest of us. I gave Isabella access to the Dropbox folder that I've saved all of the training materials I got from.
So septic designs, buffer zones, vernal pools.
That's the class that we took in the building at the conference.
Okay.
So those are the documents where the people went and marked up all of the stuff. So that's why this is the virtual session for people who didn't get to go to the conference who still need to get the certification this fall. So that's what that class is. Okay. All right, next item, agenda item 10. Concom finances, review report from agent on outstanding bills and expenses and take action required.
Are there outstanding bills? I haven't seen any. I've worked with Tracy to file Alan's one and then
Yep, that's the
my
one.
training.
Yep.
And so she showed me the two different lines and how to file that moving forward.
Okay. In terms of finances, in the next couple weeks, you should start talking to the various town staffers to figure out what we need to do two things. We need to prepare a budget and we're going to need to write something that goes in the town annual report, where you would basically go and take the last one, the one before that, and file off the serial numbers and fill in the details on any of the new interesting initiatives that we've had. So I would work with you on reviewing that, adding in the other stuff that I still remember from the last 10 months.
The other fee is for the online signing to bring it to the registry
Yep.
of deeds.
And that's item number 11, Concom online status. Review status of getting a true attest copy signed by town clerk and recorded. So,
Yeah, so that's been signed. I either need to bring it to Worcester or mail it in, and then it's $105 recording fee. And they'll send back the original copy with the booking number. And so then we'll start putting the booking number at the top of all copies that we sign electronically.
so what this means is that when Isabella is preparing most of the DEP forms, she'll add something to this section of it. And the signature page, it'll say that electronic signing is allowable. And then we can do it online instead of having to have her nag us to come to the office and sign something.
Sounds good.
All right, now we're down to, okay, correspondence. We have a report from Mass DEP reporter asking for us to subscribe to their newsletter for a sale price of $270 a year. Susan, your input?
Oh, she likes this one.
I just said that was ridiculous.
Something so.
As a
So-
taxpayer, you know, it's like, come on,
My,
share your resources.
it might be useful if we were at a large city with a lot of beachfront.
Right,
and
right.
we had a staff who needed to be kept up to date on those things, but not necessarily. There's another piece of email that came in this afternoon. Isabella, can you bring up the email? The Nero Agent Corner, if you can put that, I just forwarded this to everyone on the commission. There is, Isabella, can you read that out? My eyesight is not able to
There,
get that.
Online training on permitting requirements for priority and estimated habitat, national heritage, environmental or endangered species.
And you're keeping me honest on that. So I
Yeah.
figured you'd be interested.
Yes. Is it a class?
Yeah, sorry, December 11th, 3 to 4:30, and it's on Teams.
So
Oh, okay. That's nice.
what's the title of it?
Free. That's for me.
Isha,
If it's free, it's for me.
Nero's Agent Corner.
Okay. All right,
I'm not at a wake for one of my friends.
okay, we're now down to review building permits. So if you can bring up that folder. COM-23-12, 149 Uxbridge Road, install fence between Royal Fireside.
I already
Salon.
did that when I drove by there.
Well, if he did it without without my approving the building permit.
Cause there's a new fence there around his property and I don't know if maybe is he gonna put another fence in between?
It's between the two owners, yes, that's tight line, tight.
But he already has a new fence there. Has anyone else driven by? there?
Where is this?
In
Right
between
on the Uxbridge
Royal
border.
side. There's already, unless he's gonna put another fence. But it looks very new. As far as I could tell.
It's within 100 feet of the buffer across the street, is that what it is?
Yes, and if we were being incredibly legalistic and making everyone follow all the rules, we would have him submit an RDA and we would say, no, building a fence on your side of Route 16 is a negative determination. But I'd like to at least put people on notice in the town that we're not just going to allow them, they at least have to talk to us about it, even if we're not going to make them pay the
It's
$75.
definitely No impact, but I get what you're saying.
Well,
There's a.
there may be that Peter was saying last time that there may be.
You know, how water gets underneath there, there's a pond there,
Where's the fence proposed between the?
We don't know.
lawnmower
The
guy?
building
It says-
permit
it
application
says
didn't
lawn-
say.
Between the two neighbors, it says on.
He just, and I said in the building permit, if
Bob,
you
will
were
you
going
check
right
on
out
your-
to the street, you may be in the buffer zone, come talk to us.
It's right on Route 16. Yeah.
Oh, you're talking about the fence.
Yes.
I was talking about the stream that may go.
No. What I'm saying is I feel like he just built something there.
Okay,
A fence.
so,
I drive by tonight, so
okay, so what I'll ask you to take as an action item is, if you think there's a fence there, then reach out to the building permit, to the building inspector, or the other people who work on building permits and say,
You know what I mean?
did this guy just
Yeah.
do something without the appropriate permitting, in which case the town inspector would go out and ding him for it.
75 now.
So my point is, I didn't approve the building permit. If you went and did the work anyway,
So we're hearing that you don't need a building permit for a fence perhaps.
A building permit isn't required for a fence unless it's over 7 feet, and then it's a ZBA decision.
okay, then in that case, they go in and clean up the paperwork, but I'm just
Yeah,
I'm just going to be a stickler for reviewing building permit.
No, I get
Yeah.
I get what you're
When
saying.
I drove by, I went, oh, there's a fence there.
Yeah.
And I thought, did we not finish that? But, okay.
Okay, next one, RES 23-330, 9 George Street. Add family room, I looked at the locus and it's not jurisdictional.
49 Cape Road.
Yeah, RES 23-333, 49 Cape Road, enclose an existing front porch, not jurisdictional. The next one, RES 23 338 Thayer Road, building a greenhouse and a shed. I put a hold on this as it may be jurisdictional, depending on where the greenhouse shed is, how far back in the lot it is. It may actually be something that we ask them to come in and do an RDA for.
The wetlands aren't terribly close, but
If they built something in the very edge of their lot, it's jurisdictional, and all I want them to do is,
true, good point.
if they had there's a place in the permitting process for them to put a site locus. And if they had a plan there that showed my greenhouse is down here, I'd say, okay, you're far enough away. I'm not going to make you do an RDA and pay the $75 fee in public notice and come in and talk to us.
That sounds good.
All right.
Or put a description in of how they're gonna install this thing too. Could be something that they just haven't delivered and set on the ground, maybe.
Exactly.
Although just a theoretical question here. If I own 17 and there is no wetlands on there,
On the lot.
on my lot.
Yeah.
Am I gonna file for an RDA because there's a wetlands on somebody else's lot?
Yes, you're gonna have to.
If it's within 100 feet.
Yeah.
It's the same way the commercial property. There are wetlands across the street. I'm sorry, you
This
still.
side, It's across the road.
th-
But I
this-
thought across, in the past, when a wetland when a road, divides,
You're kind of in the wet.
when the road divides a wetland on one side, I don't know how long.
I'll wait
ago,
for
but it was
someone
never
to-
it wasn't jurisdictional, but I don't know.
I'll wait for someone to educate me on that.
Yeah,
one.
yeah.
But I see 100 feet on the GIS. I
Right.
put a hold on.
Right.
And right, there it doesn't specify, and I'm looking here, if you're gonna put a greenhouse up, you need big open space. Yeah, a nice greenhouse.
Yeah, I guess it
So-
depends on the dimension of it, right?
But just to carry this on. I can't, there's no wetlands on my land.
Right.
I can't go on to my neighbors and start cutting
Delineate.
around delineating
right,
and saying where it is. I gotta hire somebody to go on, they're not allowed to.
They're gonna say,
not gonna get.
don't
permission.
go on my land and start delineating.
There you go. I know, it's just how it plays out. It
Yeah.
is.
Yeah, that's kind of a different.
My goal is to get people in town used to coming and talking to us before they do things instead of a neighbor calling us up and bitching them out.
Well, and they have to when they apply for a permit, so.
Listen, you can't put the worms back in the can. It's better to
Well,
get it done before.
I'm now reviewing permits much more closely than the previous chair did. I'll put it that way. All right, RES 23 341, 24 Taft Avenue, construct a new home. It's not jurisdictional. So it's on the opposite side of the road from the lake, and it's more than 200 feet away. Okay, RES 23 344, 28 Ralston Farm Drive. This is the building permit for the house. This is the same lot as the building permit RES 23 310, which was for the foundation. Which was not jurisdictional. However, since it's in the Sylvan Springs project, we will be going and looking for erosion from that lot into neighboring lots and onto the street. So that'll be taking place when we do the sidewalk. And finally, RES 42 Millville Street, RES 23 347, new construction. I put this one on hold as well as it may be jurisdictional.
Just.
Well, this is the one you're gonna release.
That
You're
was-
gonna release
It's
it.
called in.
Right.
Right, yeah. The way that worked is I put it on hold and what? And he emailed and called, I talked with him and said, yeah, come on in. And so that's why he came in with that. So, okay, yeah, that one I will be releasing the hold. All right, so that covers all of the monologuing and talking, interviewing people. Any other actions? Oh, right. Item 15, review and approve minutes. Isabella, can you give us the status on what Susan's doing with our backlog?
Yes, Susan is not returning, but a new temp will begin on Tuesday. And so they're gonna take over the computer that Susan had in the account.
Oh, okay. They never tell me these things.
Jen emailed me today.
Susan is the person we hired to do the work before, but she had bereavement leave issues. So I guess they're now hiring another person to do it.
To do what work?
Backtrack the.
Catch up
minutes
on
from
all
all
the
the
minutes.
minutes.
Well, we're only
Meeting minutes and everything.
in February. And the plan is that Isabella will prepare the minutes for tonight. And then we'll be able to review them. She and I will review the minutes from the previous one that she wasn't here for. Now that she knows now she can associate names and faces with everybody. She can go back and do that one. And then the town would be hiring a contractor to come in and look at all of the videos for the previous years. And then,
Get it done.
Aren't you glad you don't have to do that?
Dodge that, dodge that bullet.
you're still gonna have to go in and
It's
fill in,
planned to be full-time.
you're still gonna have to fill in names probably for, who made the motion, who made the second and stuff, but
Mm.
we would expect them to go through the video and record stuff. So I will keep number 15, review and approve minutes on here as well, I won't, Isabella will. Now that she gets to take care of the agenda, yay. And so as they come in, they will be showing up on the list and they'll be in a folder in the SharePoint site and a link, and that way people will be able to get a hold of them ahead of ahead of time. All right, items not anticipated, anything people want to bring up?
Yes, just briefly, the blasting that's going on at Lake Nipmuc, the house that's getting built. It looked to me from afar that the erosion control was kind of slipped in one spot.
Oh,
Oh, yeah, it fell right over.
To Nipmuc Road.
Yeah. So someone should go out there,
tell them to tighten it up.
tell them to tighten it up. Just because it's visible. So that's-
Is this?
It doesn't look good.
16, that area?
Yes,
As you turn onto Nipmuc Drive.
they blasted.
Oh my God.
Now they can't blast for the septic. That's
Yeah.
supposedly up there and.
No, no, the septic.
Hey, here's a
Yeah,
question.
no,
on that.
they-
You know, they put the wall right aside of the road and they got all that sand there. Is that septic sand?
That's the septic.
You can be that close to the road with a septic? I thought we had a 50-foot, you can't put a permanent structure in.
10 feet or something. That's
That's a Board of Health issue.
So you can be right aside of the road like that?
Well,
with
we
a
have to be
septic?
on their property.
It's like 10 feet because the first 10 feet is
Not a very
reserved for
big
the town.
lot.
It's actually a big lot, but it's a.
There's setbacks for 20 feet.
Yeah, I know. what
No,
you
it's
mean,
10.
but like.
So
You
the
look
question
at it,
is, can I go out there by myself? That's not good protocol, right?
Well, we have an
People should
agent
go,
now.
we have an agent. Should she go by herself?
No,
I'm happy to go with you, Isabella.
I think someone should just make a phone call and say, can you tighten up your silt fence? We can see that the erosion control.
okay.
Yeah.
So,
I can call the guy. I've
okay,
had to go, I've been there twice already.
okay. After you make the phone call, tell him that if he doesn't clean it up.
Yep.
Isabella will write an enforcement order on his
He'll
ass.
do it. He'll do it. He's done it each time.
I know.
Yeah, he's
Okay.
done it. He should be keeping an eye. on
The
it.
town will do an enforcement.
Isabella on our behalf will. So also after you go out and talk to him, send an email or call her.
I'll give you a call and let you
And
know
then
that.
you can send an email. What I'd like is if you can get his email address and phone number.
I don't have his email, but I can get his phone. I was out there twice but the guy was in the machine.
Right,
So I told him and he.
okay. What I like is to get his contact information since, and that way
His
she'll be able to
contact
reach out to
information
him
should be in the file for the NOI.
if we can find it.
Oh, okay.
So what was that?
To
Nipmuc
Nipmuc,
Drive.
an IP.
It-
Well, I could have.
it's
pulled it up
Benny,
to the
Benny-
website, But I shut them.
Pinto, yeah.
And one last thing I just remembered before we leave, Bob, you had questions about Kevin Meehan's parcel on Oxford Road. We should go to an inspection.
What I'd like to do is, I've never personally been on 45, 49 Uxbridge Road. I'd like to see what they're doing up there. I know there was a question about a stream that was on there. There's upland, wetlands above it. I just want to see the site to see
And my question is,
what's being done.
is this the one that got taken away from us because we didn't meet the
They're under
21
enforcement.
days?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, so that's
Oh,
why we're
that
not,
one.
so what we'll do in this case
The vernal
is
pool and stuff.
there was a stream going underneath the
Yeah,
building and they
that-
just completely blew it out.
Oh,
Wait a moment, no, this
Where
wasn't the one that.
Land
we
underwater.
didn't act on. We acted on that one and we made
did
it
it.
move.
Well, we.
It was
we
49
got an
Hartford,
enforcement order
it
to
was
it.
Hartford Ave West we didn't act on.
Oh, okay. All right.
But this one, we're all on it and he had to repair the.
He got
existing
fined,
one.
he got fined for D.
Yeah.
Well,
That's what paid for
the
the.
fine
the
is what
Lake
paid-
Mohawk study.
Yeah.
For our $20,000 survey.
I thought it was, the ballroom that paid for the.
No.
No, there
No.
wasn't any fine for the ballroom. I mean, there was no bat on the ballroom. Don't get me
Really?
going on that, yes.
What
Don't
saved,
mention
what
that.
saved the ballroom is he didn't grub the the roots up. If he disturbed the bank by yanking the roots out, he would have been told, start growing things and pay a fine.
Ballroom, we didn't make him do what,
He altered his plan.
what.
Yep.
But
Well,
we now have to schedule a site visit on that, and
It's
that's a
the
good.
new and improved Concom.
well,
People have to do.
I'm, I'm now being more proactive on paperwork issues. So, okay, so Bob, my point here is for you to work with Isabella to reach out to Nipmuc Road and schedule, sorry, not, to reach out to 4549 Uxbridge. And the two of you can figure out who to contact, schedule a site visit at a time when you're both able to go, and then publish on the text when it is, and other people can go as well. Okay. And if they have issues about it, then say that if, you know,
Should call John Denard. He's their representative. He'll meet you out there.
yeah,
yeah, he's nice though.
the goal is that at
Accommodating.
our December meeting, you'll be able to come back and give your impressions of what the site is and how they're doing. And you can also find out what their timetable is.
Gonna have to blast.
What's this near?
Pardon? It's just north of Route 16, right up.
Oh, where the cell phone.
It's a big,
It's a big pile of rock.
Yeah.
rocks and
What's rocks and then what's
and a
not?
driveway going,
Oh, rock.
a driveway going up the hill.
Yeah.
That can get moved.
Right, they just left.
All right.
Well, it's not a bunch of stakes going up into the woods too, behind there. I don't know what that's all.
Oh, is that what it was? All
Well,
that-
that's one of the parcels
Is that
that
across
is
the-
now subject to our new zoning.
No,
okay.
They can put
Okay.
3
that's.
houses per acre. There could be 30
Two
units
combined.
put up there
Okay,
with
Oh.
no
okay.
restrictions.
Well, it's-
Well, it's all rock. How are they gonna put septic?
Not good street names.
Unless they do tights. Who's gonna buy a house with tight? No.
Well, that I know, but where is this?
Just up the street from it.
Okay,
So I got your answer for the late Nipmuc water levels.
Just did say-
121.5
yeah,
feet above sea level according to the Towboat Historical.
Okay.
okay,
Then-
121.5
That's-
feet above sea level,
yeah,
and that's
You got
historical.
Marina?
yeah.
So it does waiver, obviously. That's any.
Oh, where the skate park was?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
That whole area up there.
All right.
Took me a half hour to find it, but I did.
Any other actions before we adjourn?
Who wants to buy an elliptical?
That's, I rule that out.
Oh, here, sell stuff.
a coat hanger?
I know, an elliptical.
All right, I will now entertain a motion for number 17, adjournment.
That's 10 acres
I make a motion to adjourn.
and frontage.
Is there a second?
Second,
All in favor?
Aye.
aye.
Okay, so we're adjourned. See you in 2 weeks.
Oh, come on, you guys need to.
So what's the special? Isabella, how do I get on with the view? I thought